Okay, so the time is now 5:30, May 1st, and to call the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Neff,
Here.
Mr. Martin,
Here.
Mrs. Cooper is absent.
Do we have an approval of the minute, a motion to approve the minutes from the last? Motion to approve. Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
2 yeas.
Okay. Visitors, anyone out there would like to speak? I don't see any, so we'll move on to new and unfinished business in the Memorial Day Market. Is there anything that we need to do on that?
All right. So on packet page 3, you'll have the application for the Memorial Day Market that's put on by the Big Walnut Music and Marching Band Boosters. This has gone through city staff, emergency, and police. Everybody's given their thumbs up, except for the food trucks. They'll pending inspection from the fire department before they can be cleared. And then there was discussion brought up about closing down Vernon Street, but we have all decided that that wouldn't be a good idea. May 26th is when, or 27th is when it takes place. They'll set up that Friday night, that Sunday night, and then that Monday morning they'll come in again and set up. They expect to have 3,000 plus people with the vendors. They'll have 6 to 10 food trucks is what they're hoping for. I've asked for a final count on that before it starts, just so we can get an idea of how many trucks will show up. And then I think that's about it. We went over everything with the events committee and they didn't have any objections to anything.
So what were the hours that Granville Street is closed? Will they close it? When are the food trucks supposed to arrive? The night before or early that morning, or do we know that?
Some of them will show up that Friday. I don't think we closed Granville Street. We came in the morning and closed it. You closed
Okay.
it last year.
I closed it last year. Yeah, again, not Friday, Monday, Sunday. So, yeah, remember, this is the Monday day event.
I'm sorry, Monday.
Throws me
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
Okay,
So again, the reason it's in front of the Parks Committee is because it ties up the park for the entire day.
yeah,
Just want to make sure people are aware of that. Assuming we don't get any rain, we probably will have some vendors with vehicles on the square, so we'll try to manage that as well. We are trying to, I don't know if I mentioned it to this group or not, but with the service team, we are going to do a little bit of, we're going to create some beds around the roots of our trees this year, try to keep vehicles a little bit farther away from the root, impacting the root system. I mean, we're not there quite yet, so again, we got to kind of manage that this year, but that'll hopefully be in place before too many more events happen. Yeah.
Is there any action that we need to take on this?
No, just as long as there's concurrence that you're aware that it's happening and you don't see any red flags, I think we're free to proceed. So
will there be vehicles parked on the square or? Because a couple of years ago, they were predicting real bad rain
yeah,
and they wouldn't let the vehicles be on the square. People had to unload their stuff. And I didn't know if that was being applied this time or not.
yeah. So we don't have a policy that prohibits vehicles on the square.
Right.
Again, it's kind of a call by the administrative team as to whether or not it's too wet for vehicles to be on there, and then working with the event organizer to keep them off.
All right.
Yeah, so
Okay.
in addition, I mean, while we're talking about it, we should also note, I mean, this is the Memorial Day weekend. We will have the event down at J.R. Smith Park in the morning. That's the veterans event. So the veterans gather down there. They do a little bit of a service. They march down Cherry Street, do a little activity. I think you participate in that or
Yeah.
attending that in the past. We've made arrangements for the temporary bleachers to be delivered that morning. Same company that did it last year.
And the police department is aware of all the steps of what's going on that day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we probably need to, have you confirmed with them
I'll circle back.
the Memorial part of that?
Right.
And then,
Because they stop here at the corner and do a 21 gun salute. Then they go down and do another 21 gun salute at the Fallen Heroes Memorial. Then they go across the street and do a 21 gun salute in the cemetery at the flag there. So it ties up Cherry Street for quite a while.
What time is that usually? How is that?
They start that about 10 o'clock down at the park, J.R. Smith Park.
right. Yeah, it's a nice event. I mean, I think
Yeah.
the school, there's some been, members of the
High
band.
school band performs
Yeah.
down at the park.
Yeah, real nice event. So,
And then they have somebody, and they used to have somebody play taps when they did the 21
Wow.
gun salute. So, yeah.
okay, well, good. That is also the weekend that the farmer's market will begin on the square. So again, a lot happening on that Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Anything you want to discuss on that? Anything else? Okay, well, let's hear the other park updates.
Alright, so on packet page 11, I provided a quick little overview of what's been going on at General Rosecrans Park. So we met with Aaron Noblet and he identified some invasive species that were coming back and regrowing in the areas that he had previously cleared out. However, he doesn't have, he's not able to do the detention basins. You need a specific licensing that she doesn't have, and it's too much work for him to do with his company. So he recommended Mad Scientist and Associates to come out and treat all the invasive species in the detention basins. So we've already received a proposal for them, and then Aaron Noblet would be doing treatment within the wooded area of General Rosecrans Park.
So that's on packet page 12. If there's a map that highlights the areas.
Mhm.
I think we talked a little bit about this in the past. Aaron did the treat area a couple of years ago. So this is basically another application to keep the, invasive species at bay. And
The invasive species in that detention, they're all in that detention area, or is it throughout the whole thing?
So they're mainly in the detention basins, but there are some that Aaron identified within the wooded portion.
What do we need to do anything to get mad scientists out there to?
yeah, so we have a proposal from them. It's under the spending limit of the administrator. So we're going to go ahead and approve that just once we briefed the Parks Committee. So yeah, we don't need any action. Just want to make sure you're aware of it.
Thank you. Orchard.
And so maybe just while we're on GRE trails, for example, I think we talked a little bit about as a council member. So we do now have the connection on the backside. So on the western side of that trail that goes through the wooded area is now connected into a trail that connects over through Price Ponds.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know, do they have I should have gone out there. They don't have or do they have the asphalt in place at this point? I knew they had the base in place a couple of weeks ago, when we went out a couple of weeks ago.
There's
We'll check on that.
a,
Have they put the asphalt in? Okay, yeah, so,
I don't know if it goes the whole trail, but I could see it at least right by Millstone.
yeah, I was gonna say, it starts at Millstone, goes all the way through the woods and connects into this, so. Another place for you to go walk, Dave, if you wanna go check it out, so that's a nice little connection that's been made, so. All right, sorry about that.
Yes. Anything on the Old Orchard Part 2?
Okay. And then on packet page 13, just provides another update of Old Orchard Park. So I walked out around there with our services department supervisor to see if they were able to get a mower back there to just kind of start and create somewhat of a path. He said they were able to, so he didn't say when he'd be able to get it out there, but whenever he can. So he said it would be maybe a couple weeks. But we did identify, so when the Eagle Scout had initially created the trail, those paths are still essentially there. You can kind of see where they were cleared out at one point. So we kind of added this, it's highlighted in pink on page 13. Just added another part to kind of connect off to the trail that Aaron had originally drew. So kind of just essentially recreating those trails that were in place 10 years ago.
Now, my memory serves me correctly. This won't be paved or anything. It's gonna be, but it's just kind of,
Yes, our initial thought is again, just kind of make sure we keep it clean, mow it down so that we don't get any vegetation in there that you can't walk through. But I think at some point we engage CT consultants on trying to figure out what do we need to do to make it compliant, whatever that might be. I mean, if it's fully ADA compliant, it probably needs to have a finished surface of some sort that's more than, I think, what we're talking about at the moment. But we'll figure that out and get back to you. But at a minimum, I think, again, what we're trying to do is preserve the work that the Eagle Scout had done, historically, and appreciate, Mr. Martin's suggestion that we do preserve the work that had been done. And the good news is, it sounds like, with the work of our service team, we can at least keep it clear. So that when we do move to the next level, which we would anticipate happens at some point, with some additional, with a clearer path or whatever the case might be, that at least, we'll be positioned to do that. So. And, if you haven't noticed, some of the trees are blooming. So that's a good indication of which ones are still alive. So
Yes.
go ahead.
Did the trail ends soon sign ever get taken down there on the paved path? When you're walking that paved path that makes the loop through there and then hooks up to the other path, there's a trail ends here sign. And the trail doesn't end anymore, so.
I'll double check on that tomorrow.
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, the apple trees are blooming. I think we're also maybe about ready to test the age on the trees. Are we?
Yes, so I reached out to Aaron Noblet. It's a specific tool to use to take samples without having to cut the tree down. So he's been on the hunt to try to find this tool, which hopefully we should have this week. Maybe I'll have to reach back out to him again. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to answer the age-old question of how old the apple trees are. Hopefully soon.
And we know Johnny Appleseed was in this part of the country. When do we say? Late 1700s, early 1800s?
Between 1805 and 1822.
Okay, there you go. So we'll see if they're that old.
We've gone down a rabbit hole. Johnny Appleseed.
I've learned a lot.
That's why the wooden statue out there,
I know.
the tree is carved of him, because he went through Sunbury many, many, many years ago.
they planted a bunch of apple trees in Walker
Yeah.
Park.
Yep.
So
Maybe.
legend has it. Maybe.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Hopefully.
Well, it's not that he didn't plant apple trees. He did, right? The question is, are those, trees that he planted?
But they're probably closely related to the trees that he did originally plant, if they are not those trees.
And that may be our story based upon the
The same
age of the trees.
seeds
Mhm.
that bear the fruit. Okay.
All right.
Anything else on the monthly park update or?
So on our monthly park update, during our streetscapes working group, when we were walking past Evening Street, one of the members suggested adding a potential signage to that area, since not many people know it's a park or that it could be somebody's backyard. So that was just a simple sign would probably be beneficial so people know. Freedom Park, the solar eclipse event went on very smoothly. There were no issues.
Years ago, there was an Evening Street Park, but somebody took that turn a little too sharp and took the sign out a long time ago. So, yeah, there used to be a sign there that said Evening Street Park.
Well, there you go. Then we just need to restore
Yes.
the Evening Street Park.
Yeah.
Mhm.
General Rosecrans Park, we met with mad scientists and associates, discussed invasive species in the detention basins, walked the trails, and identified some areas where the asphalt is cracking and needs to be repaired, which we should be able to do in-house with our services department. J.R. Smith Park.
Yeah, so I just wanted a little bit of an update on where we are with J.R. Smith Park. So we've received a $500,000 award from the Land and Water Conservation Fund. It's a conditional award at this point. They're waiting for the federal sign off on it, but the state has nominated it for the award, and that's again an important step to getting it. And then we've got $500,000 in the city budget for repairs as well. So we've got $1 million toward improvements to J.R. Smith Park so far. You may remember phase one of the project is a $2 million project. So if we're not able to secure some additional funds, we're going to have to come back and maybe reprioritize what we want to do in phase one. But what we're doing at this moment that I think will help inform what we do next is we have asked CT consultants to go out there. They're doing the subsurface utility inspection work at this point. We know there's a storm water system that moves through there, and we know there's a wastewater line that moves through that area as well. So once they've determined the exact locations of the pipes or those lines, it may end up adjusting the final engineering in terms of the placement of certain things in the park. So just wanted to let you know that that's really kind of what we're waiting on are the results of the subsurface utility exam. Then we'll be back, I think, in front of you to begin to talk about what tweaks we need to make. There is still the possibility that the city gets some funding through the state community improvement fund, the capital budget. We do have a request in for some assistance there, so we're waiting to hear back.
I appreciate that update because that was the focus of so many of our meetings for so long. And then we've been just waiting to hear. And so
yeah,
I'm glad it's being talked about somewhere now. I hope to see something happen with it. And that's not directed at all of y'all.
We have a total of 1 million of secure for JR. So
yeah. Again, it's technically a conditional approval from the Land and Water Conservation Fund. So I'm waiting to get the official word from the federal level. But again, it's highly likely. I mean, highly likely. So yeah, we're operating under the assumption that we've got $1 million to work with initially. All right, thank you.
There's no update for Old Church Park and parking lot. Old Orchard Park, walked around with Jake Stockmaster to discuss mowing an initial path throughout the orchard. The reservoirs construction is still ongoing. They did lay the asphalt down for the trail, and Amber has some photos that she took.
You guys all look up, there's a video.
All right, we're ready.
Ready? Let me turn.
Right.
Cool beans.
So just as a reminder to this group, so the trail is basically ADA accessible. They get you from a parking lot at the service building up to the top. And we will have a fishing pier installed in reservoir number 1. So I think that was most of the shots were of reservoir number 1. So that's to be done. And as Alyssa indicated, the project's supposed to be done by the end of June. So we're getting pretty close. on that one. I think there's also some furniture that they need to do, benches or something, that kind of stuff. So there's dog waste stations, exactly. So definitely making good progress. There's also another part to that project, and that's the water drawdown, the emergency water drawdown features of it as well. Go ahead and turn that, the sound down. So at this point, the pipes, if you go out there, you'll notice that the green space to the west of the service station that leads down to the Round Top building, most of that turf has been disturbed. They basically were laying a new set of pipes to connect into our storm drain system. So that'll be the new emergency outlet or outfall for water if the reservoirs get too high, or if there's a reason we have to drain them quickly. Also a reminder that they did cut a hole, a little lower window into those concrete structures that are sitting out there in there, so that basically it doesn't go quite as high. The reservoirs won't get quite as high before they start to, fall into that hole and begin to drain out normally. So, as we've mentioned, reservoir number 2, we do know that the water level is down low on that one, but again, it's should be filling back up now as a result of rainwater. It won't happen overnight, but is happening. So we won't need to do any more drawdowns to finish out that project. So, yep.
And then our last update is the Sunbury Memorial Park. We are still currently working on putting all that information into a GIS database. So we're still working on matching the lots with the plots and uploading all that information. So currently the old burial ground and the new additions are completed. So we're about halfway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So also related to the Memorial Park, we did get a phone call about placing flags there. So we'll have flags out for the veterans during Memorial Day weekend.
And also the fish will be dropped into the
Oh,
reservoir.
thank you.
There will be no fishing derby held because of
makes sense,
the
yeah.
state of the reservoirs and the safety. The church was concerned, so they're postponing that until September, but the trout are still planned to be dropped for fishing. So
Is that this week, next week,
they will be dropping them on Saturday.
Saturday?
That just means the kids will catch bigger fish when they have the fishing derby.
Well, for the ones that survive.
Yeah, well, that's true.
That was the first bit. There was usually
Yes,
two.
so there'll be another one in July, I think, or June. I can't call. I have the events calendar almost ready to go. The Conservation Club will hold that one. That is bass. They'll come in and dump some bass, and then the Conservation Club. But the church still wants to hold one. They'll just hold one later in the year.
So the one in June, though, the Conservation Club, that's still gonna be.
That's still going, yeah.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Neff, or Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
2 yes.